Alright, here we go. Murdoch and his developer team. This is gonna be tough. Again, what I really want to point out, this is to help Riot, okay? This is not to flame Riot. You know, it might kinda sound like a flame, but you need to hear this, basically. Because there's a lot. I guess I'm gonna start with the stuff Murdoch did right, so you're not like, he's just criticizing him, he's just a hater, etc. Like, definitely in Murdoch, especially the early stages of TFT, did an amazing job. Like, again, the game looks beautiful, it's next gen, like, the actually coding part of the game is pretty damn well fucking done. 100%. I'd say the most of the issues I have with him is basically what kinda is becoming out of him and his team rather than what he's capable of. That's probably an important thing to point out. So again, I feel like the game can be fully competitive and still be enjoyable by casuals. I don't think there's a reason to balance casual players and competitive players. I feel like that's a complete wrong attitude. A very limited attitude that you should just not take as a developer. I feel like if you balance the top end of the game, you basically balance the low end as well. Even though I know a lot of people won't agree, but as I pointed out before, CSGO is a perfect example. The game is only about the skill, and it is fully enjoyable by casual players. And I'm sure there are other, for example, Rocket League. That game is skill only. It's became one of the biggest games, maybe one of the top 5 esports games, player base, viewer games in the world. So I don't, just please don't take the fucking part of I need to balance casuals, and no, you don't. You just focus on competitive, and the casuals can enjoy it anyway. So the set 1 came brilliant, can't complain. Most of set 1, Murdoch did everything right, honestly. Like, every time he fucked something up, I don't know, I remember Noble's patch, where Nobles became absolutely stupid. The meta was basically who finds 6 Nobles first wins the game. He literally apologized on Twitter. He fixed it like in 2 days, I think, from when it came out. Like, perfect response. Just beautiful. Exactly what a developer should do. It was incredible, honestly. I was like, holy fucking shit, this guy is incredible. I love him. And it started going downward. Basically, Pantheon was introduced. That was just terrible. The game suddenly became who finds Pantheon first wins the game. The nerfs basically were non-existent on him. The end of set 1 was very depressing. I feel very unplayable. And I think a lot of people will agree. Though, as again I said, unfortunately people don't like to come forward because they just get hate from the fan base of the game. Well, that was set 1. Set 2, fresh start, maybe it can be great again. No. We were introduced Nocturne, Blender, everyone played Nocturne, everyone Blender, me Blender in the start. Guess what? The Nocturne didn't get nerfed for like a month, for some fucking reason. Then it finally got nerfed, Nocturne unplayable. Well, I guess we just move on from Nocturne to Blade Master Azir, I think it was. And again, it just wasn't nerfed. Singed was completely broken, the entire set, never nerfed, never stopped. Just, at that point it felt like Riot is kinda doing whatever they want. They just don't really care what people think. It was like the exact opposite of set 1, I feel like, where Riot was basically doing everything based on what the community said, and set 2 was basically completely ignoring the community. I did not finish set 2. I know a lot of people didn't finish set 2. I left, I believe, between the year 2019 and 2020, so like 1 month before set 2 ended. And I was like, I'm gonna come back for set 3. There are no tournaments whatsoever. That is not Mordok's fault, obviously, whatsoever. That's another thing to definitely put to Mordok's better resume was that he actually made a tournament, which again puts a esports team in the bad light. Why is the lead game developer making a fucking Riot tournament and not the actual esport team? Like, that's just stupid, but obviously that doesn't take anything from Mordok. That was incredible from him. And Skara, who added to the prize pool as well. Then set 3 came, and I feel like set 3 was... I feel like Riot took a step back. Set 3 started incredibly promising. Set 3, like... I feel like Mordok is suddenly, in set 3 he was battling with these two attitudes from set 1, set 2. Should I listen to the community, or should I just fucking ignore it? Set 3 started great. Basically, the games were longer. Some people complained about it, for sure. We'll get to that. The games became longer. It was mostly because the damage you took in first 2 stages was incredibly low, and there was an amazing change to win streak, lose streak, where every single loss and win put you 1 step in the loss streak and win streak chain. That was incredible. So people basically had to play stage 1, stage 2, or in the game it's called stage 2, stage 3, because stage 1 is just creeps. They had to play it, they had to strategize it, they had to keep scouting, if they were losing, they had to assure they lose every single round. I think that was amazing, because right now in TFT, in stage 1 and stage 2, you just play your strongest board, because you don't want to lose fucking 40 HP before the first creeps come in, right? In set 3 at the beginning, that was not the case. Like, if you lost all the rounds, you lost like, I don't know, 20 HP maximum. That was incredible. The comeback mechanics in the game were great. Like, the game started so good. And then suddenly, Mordok was like, people complain the games are too long. And, okay, so he increased damage you take early. I didn't like that, but I'm not necessarily saying it was wrong. But for some reason, he also changed the lose streak and win streak gold. And he pushed it once, like on the 2nd and 3rd streak, you don't get an increase. I don't think anyone ever complained about that. I think everyone kinda enjoyed the change because it put a huge skill difference between players. And he just changed that back to what it used to be, I believe. Why? I honestly, I still don't know why. Like, usually I have a good explanation to what Mordok does and why, but this time I don't. What that kind of happened is, what that led to is basically what I said. Everyone just plays the strongest board, stage 1 and 2, or 2 and 3. And there's no skill to it. Like, you basically either hit or you don't. And if you don't hit, the comeback mechanic does not exist anymore. You start playing at 30 HP, you're like... Okay, I'll explain. So, let's take a guy who loses first 5 rounds. He didn't hit, he didn't find anything. So he went on a lose streak. And we compare him to a guy who went on a win streak. So now, the win streak guy has like 10, maybe 20 gold on the creeps. The lose streak guy has like 40, maybe 50 if he got lucky, right? The win streak guy has 100 HP. The lose streak guy has 70, let's say 70. The win streak guy has like a 3 times stronger board. Obviously all his units are upgraded. The lose 3 guy has nothing. So now the new stage begins, and the lose 3 guy, in that gold difference, let's say it was 20 to 50, in 30 gold, he has to make a board stronger than the win 3 guy. He's not going to do that. It's impossible. So suddenly, this lose 3 guy has no way of ever catching up to the win 3 guy. It's impossible. Because he's lower on HP, he has less gold, and his board is less powerful. And since they made a lot of carousel changes, you can no longer guarantee items that could bring you back in the game, because okay, if I get a beer sword here, I can actually maybe come back. I can make a, I don't know, GA on a Rumble or GA on GP in the future, and that could be my comeback mechanic. Oh, well, fuck you. There's a fucking chainless belt and cloak on the carousel. Enjoy your first pick. Or even better, everyone gets a belt. So the first pick guy actually gets the same item as the last pick guy. The comeback mechanic completely disappeared from the game. And without comeback mechanic, the game just becomes one thing. You hit or you don't. Which became a meme. It's super funny, haha. But when you're a competitive player, it's really fucking annoying. The skill just went to shit. And I say the lose streak, win streak is the huge part of it. Plus, I still say that taking more damage early was just stupid, but honestly it's stupid mostly because it amplifies the issue of the lose streak, win streak. So if lose streak, win streak was fixed, and maybe the lose streak guy got 1 extra gold for every loss rather than the win streak guy, because win streak guy already gets an extra gold for every win, right? Then maybe the extra damage wouldn't matter as much. The reasoning before the extra damage was the game was too long, but only people who complained about it was the NA players. EU didn't complain, Korea didn't complain, China didn't complain, and the reason is simple. NA playstyle was a completely different from every other region. And honestly, I feel like, yes, NA is the weakest region. That's questionable. I mean, we could take the Worlds as an example, where NA basically was below, I don't know, South America, EU, Korea, China. It was just gone. But the game honestly was in such a RNG state that I wouldn't take that as a proof. But considering that every region plays a different playstyle than NA, the playstyle was basically, NA was greedy. They all played economy. There was no aggressive leveling up. I believe the only one who did that in NA was Polt. He was like the only person, and maybe Grandwise. Those are like the only 2 people who played the EU, Korea, China style. So obviously the games are gonna be long as fuck in NA, but they weren't long as fuck in any other region. So Mordok basically balanced the game for NA and completely ruined the experience in every other region. Every other region just became absolute fucking RNG fiesta. Because at that point, if you lost streak, you were dead. If you lost streak, you got a guaranteed 6 to 8. It was impossible to come back. And here comes the biggest issue is now, because you obviously see Mordok just listening to NA. Like, you barely see him in EU streams. He comes to EU streams. I'm not gonna say he doesn't. But he's mostly on NA. Like, you mostly see him in Soju stream, Kyun stream, Skara stream. He balances the game around NA's superstars. Yet these superstars are not even the best players. The best players is Daisy, Xalve, maybe other EU players, maybe other Korean players, Chinese. I don't know Korean Chinese players. I don't know how good they are, but they are better. I feel like from NA, the honestly only top tier player is Grandwise. Like, I believe he proved that, but I still think that people like Daisy and Salve are definitely better than him. Yet Mordok bounces the game around opinions of Kyun, Kesoju, Skara. I'm not saying they're bad players, they're good players, but they're not the best. They're far from the best. So suddenly you have this, I mean, you have to call it circle jerk kind of team, of these NA Asian players. Like they're all Asian, right? Soju, Kyun, Skara, they're all Asian. I mean, maybe they were born in America, they're Americans, but like, it's sort of like this group of NA Asians who basically decide where the game goes. Like, when you look at Soju's stream, have you ever seen him complain about the game? He usually just hypes it. He's the hype man. I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, but if you want to balance the game or make the game better, listening to a guy who just tells you that everything's fucking great is probably not gonna help you do that, right? If everything is great, then you don't have anything to balance. Everything's great. So, yeah, I believe that's where the biggest problem became, is that basically Mordok just decided to listen to some people and ignore the others. I actually even asked Mordok in one of the chats, he was reacting to me, so I gave him a question. If I make a video criticizing you, trying to improve what you do, will you listen to it? And he ignored me. He just started responding to everyone else who was writing around me, and he just ignored me. That's why I didn't even want to make this video, because I felt like it's a lost cause, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and hope he watches this and actually realizes that some of the mistakes he does. Because I know he's capable of it. In set 1, Mordok was a completely different person than he is right now. 100%. So like, we know he's capable of being an amazing developer. The question is, what does he actually want now? Does he actually want to be a great developer who puts hard work and makes the game great? Or does he actually want to be a popular guy who just gets hyped all the time? He goes in a stream and he writes, oh, you got chosen a set and you got a tier 2 set who just wins you the game, kick W, and everyone in the chat just writes kick W, and he's like, yay, everyone made kick W because of me. That's so funny and cool. I'm a memer. If you want to be that guy, he's doing a great job. If he wants to be a great developer, he's starting with a terrible job. Start listening to critics. That's like step number 1. Stop just listening to circle jerkers. Like, we know what happened to CDPR. We know what happened when they just listened to Swimstream. Swimstream was their Kesoju, basically. What happened was the game went to shit and Swimstream took all the money and fucked off. I'm not saying Kesoju will do that. I'm not gonna compare the two. 100% not, but it's just not good. It's not a good idea to just go all in on a couple of people who are in the game because they make a shit ton of money on it, and you can't be really sure if they actually like the game or not. You just can't. You should actually build bonds with everyone, not just few chosen ones, the NA Asian gods. I really hope, Mordok, that you'll come back to, like, you have a shit ton of experience now. If you bring back the attitude you had in set 1, with all the experience you got in the past year, I'm telling you, you could be the best game developer in the history of game developing. I'm not even joking. You have the potential, but your ego has to go aside. Like, your ego just can't, it just can't be there. Like, if you want to be a lead game developer, ego is your biggest enemy. Because a lead game developer, he needs to listen. He needs to listen. Please stop doing it. Like, I remember it when I literally wrote you on Discord. I was in this VIP Discord of the biggest streamers and shit. And I was complaining that in set 3.5, they buffed all the RNG carries. Irelia randomly jumps with her ult, right? Timo randomly spreads his mushrooms. Gnar randomly jumps. I mean, Victor was kinda random, but I guess Victor's RNG was acceptable. If you compared it to Jinx, who was a carry before the patches, then Jinx always shot the front target, right? There was no RNG to it. They buffed all the RNG. I wrote it to him, and he wrote me, I don't agree. He didn't explain why. He didn't like even consider anything. He just said, I don't agree. I'm like, oh, great discussion, bro. I guess I'm not fucking NA and Asian enough for you to listen to me, am I? By the way, I got banned from that server after, I guess, 4 hours. No one told me who banned me. I asked Soju, Kyun, they said, I didn't ban you, I don't know what happened. I kinda assume he was the one who banned me. Because I was just blatantly criticizing him, which is just not cool. You just don't fucking do that. Even though this all happened, I'm trying to help here. Please, Smordog, at least fucking consider what I said here. If you do, like, you're the one who could solo carry this game to #1 esport, multiplayer, player-based, viewer-based Twitch game in the entire fucking world. You could be the best developer in the world. But you actually have to do 2 things. Work hard, put your ego aside. Honestly, that's all you have to do. We'll see what happens. As I said, I'm quite sure that set 4 and set 5 are gonna pretty much decide the entire future of this game. And it's not starting great from what I saw in set 4. It's not starting great at all. And I hope it will change, because set 4 looks fucking terrible so far. Well, obviously it's in PBE, it's not out yet, so hopefully it will improve. If you guys thought this was savage, wait for my criticizing of the esport team, because that's gonna be way fucking worse. I'll see you on the 3rd video.